Hi, I'm Nikki Dore. I wanted to really just dispel some of the myths about mediumship. Um, Now, I get asked quite a lot about what mediumship is. I work with a lot of skeptics, and I work in a quite a kind of analytical role in what was my day job. So when people know I'm a medium, they kind of have very different reactions to it. And often it is, oh, you talk to dead people or you talk to loved ones. They don't really understand the full extent of mediumship. But saying that, lots of people who are even mediums don't know what mediumship is because they have done mediumship in one role for their entire development. They haven't really looked outside of it. Mediumship at its basic level is the ability to interact and communicate with a non-physical energy or entity that has a consciousness. That's a bit of a mouthful, but at its base level. Now, who you choose to communicate with depends on your philosophy, your belief system. If you're religious, so say you're a spiritualist, then you're proving life after death, continuation of life. Then of course you're going to go to the entities that show you that, and those are the people that you knew. Now, if you're not so interested in that, for me personally, I grew up and I spoke to my loved ones before I could speak physically as a child. Really wasn't that interested. It wasn't that exciting to me having a loved one. I saw them all the time. I communicated with them all the time. When I started doing mediumship, I was quite surprised that that's where you're funneled into. And it can also the type of entities you expect to come through depend on, as we said, your belief systems, your anything that any filters that you have. But also on top of that, and what your intention is, on top of that, it is the type of mediumship that you have. So a lot of people who do evidential mediumship will still talk to angels and things like that. Most angels have not been incarnated, so actually, technically, you're already dealing with um, energies that are not that haven't been incarnated ever. So I think that people get a bit confused by the term medium, and as I've explained, outside of that limited view of spiritualism, it is something more. But the problem is people hear mediumship and they always think of, you know, speaking to your Aunt Marge or your Uncle Jeff or your granddad. And that's great for one part of mediumship, but there's a whole range of what mediumship can do. Mediumship can be, automatic writing, inspirational speaking. It can be music. There's a lot on sound healing right now, and I must admit I'm a mainly physical medium, and I've had the opportunity to be around physical mediums who use their voice, and it's beautiful, and that resonance with it, and you can see it in dance and art, and there's so many other examples of where mediumship is, whether you have some mediumistic ability, and sometimes you'll find that artists will talk about this all the time. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I didn't feel it was me. That's mediumistic ability. So we tend to go, okay, it's only mediums who have that. There's a difference between mediumistic ability and being a medium. Being a medium means that's what you do. That's who you are. That's well, not who you are completely, but that's a facet of who you are, and your identity. And on the other side, you have people who have parts of it where certain times, and if you do astrology, you'd say certain transits highlights that, and they're able to do it. But it's not something that's consistent. So you might have that mediumistic ability occasionally, but you might not be actually a medium. No, that's not about up leveling, being better than anybody else. That's just the reality of it. There is a difference. There's same with you find some people have psychic moments and precognition in dreams, but it's not consistent. and they can't control it. So some will learn a level of development on it and be able to have a certain amount, but it's already dictated by your birth to a certain degree how much of that. You're not going to be able to be professional if you're not going to be able to be consistent in what you're doing and master it. And it's very much about mastering the art rather than, oh, it comes here, it comes here. If you've got paying clients, you can't just say, sorry, it's not working today. Because that's why I think a lot of people's idea of mediums and psychics goes down, because they have this idea that a lot of people who have some parts of that ability then go professionally, and then sometimes they're just not on on that particular day, and it gives a bad impression. So if you go back to the idea of I was just talking about, mediumship is not just talking to loved ones. It is anything where you feel like you're channeling, or you're a vessel, or anything that you feel like you're pouring energy out, and you're connecting to something, and you're interacting with that energy. You'll find that a lot of healers are doing that as well. And even though healing can be done in speech, I was talking more about energy healers who often will feel like they're channeling that energy. So mediumship is not really just about, speaking to your loved ones. It's so much more. And that's one thing I really want to start exploring on this channel, really telling you about all the different things that you can do with mediumship, and talking about the difference between physical and mental mediumship, talking about the newer forms of physical mediumship that I do. And I know some others are doing different forms, but I'll definitely tell you about, my experiences. I might even let you know about my ectoplasm experience, which is why I don't do it again. It's horrendous. But this is the first video of many, so hopefully if you like this, just, if you enjoy this video, I should say, then please like it, and please subscribe if you want to hear more. So have a good evening, and take care of yourself.